So guys, I went out yesterday and actually recorded a moto vlog, only to realise that I had in fact forgotten to charge the camera. So I'm just going to be throwing over a little bit of commentary that I recorded while sitting at my computer, and I'm going to throw that over some footage of myself riding around, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Guys, we did it. Federal Treasurer Joe Hockey, who earns over $230,000 a year, has delivered his stunning vision overnight for an Australia in which everybody who isn't staggeringly rich can fuck off and die. Now guys, this is a budget full of tough decisions, and they're going to help get the country back on track, you know, after Labor totally ruined it, I guess. Among the raft of fuck you measures introduced by Hockey, who is married to a rich and powerful investment banker, is a $7 payment for anyone that wants to go visit their doctor on top of the normal costs. This co-payment, which has been unanimously criticised by the actual healthcare industry, has been specifically targeted by Hockey in order to do the most damage to poor people when they are at their weakest. Since it's not legal anymore to just trample poor people under your magnificent purebred horse as you thunder through the streets, this new measure will ensure that poor people who need medical treatment just do not get it, and instead fuck off and die. The nation's vulnerable can also be expected to be roundly fucked over by a new, inconceivably totalitarian set of welfare rules that ensure a 6-month waiting period for anybody looking to secure unemployment benefits. And when asked how the fuck he expected people to somehow keep 6 months worth of money on hand so that they didn't have to starve to death, Hockey said that
there was just pain all around and everybody was doing it tough.
Students are also doing it tough in the latest budget, while Hockey, whose own 2 degrees in law and art cost him literally nothing under previous Australian government policies, insists that students need to pay more and that universities can charge whatever the fuck they want. Any money loaned from the government through help programs will also need to be paid back faster and with more interest, because fuck you! Now the LNP reckons that this will make our universities more competitive on the global level. I kind of agree with them. I mean, it's really likely that universities will use this deregulation to lower their fees to reasonable amounts. That's definitely going to happen. I imagine that Hockey kind of shifted awkwardly in his seat and attempted to conceal his enormous erection as he explained that future students would also suffer through the ravaging effects of his fucking. Savings of $30 billion are expected from scrapping the Gonski School funding plan, which was based on literally years of research and negotiations that, according to Hockey, are for losers. While the poor, the sick, the disabled, and the unemployed may consider themselves to be unfairly burdened by the new budget, Hockey says that that's not the case, and that companies and rich people are doing it tough as well. Large corporations and rich people in Australia have been rewarded for their donations to Joe Hockey and the Liberal Party, with their own heavy lifting being the equivalent of like a fucking feather or some shit. Even though the abolishment of negative gearing and the closing of tax loopholes would have saved the government literally billions each year, Hockey insists that rich people are already suffering enough. They've implemented a temporary, not permanent, 2% debt levy on anybody earning over $180,000 a year, who isn't smart enough to hire an accountant to make them look like they earn less than $180,000 a year. And by the way guys, mining corporations are also doing it just so fucking tough on the new budget, with Hockey scrapping the mining tax while simultaneously allowing incomprehensibly rich mining companies to continue paying far less for their fuel than the average Australian. But it's not all bad news for the nation's most vulnerable. Even the poorest Australian can be thankful that they're now protected by $12 billion worth of outdated shitty fighter planes that nobody wants. And guys, don't think that the politicians aren't doing it tough. They've frozen pay increases by a little bit. We didn't cut them, of course. Fuck that. I mean, come on. Tony Abbott only earns $500,000 a year. That's basically fucking nothing. And poor people who can also somehow afford to go to school will be overjoyed to note that Hockey's budget includes spending $250 million on a school chaplaincy program.
Look guys, this is exactly what the country needs. It's really important, okay? It's a useful thing to spend money on in a time when everybody has to tighten their belts.
Oh, and he's also spending $10 million on an internet safety commission to make sure that nobody says nasty things online.
I understand the internet, okay, and I am good at computer. You can trust me on this one, boys.
And don't forget, guys, hockey's new budget also includes a massive fucking of the environment. Because we all know climate change is bullshit.
There is a mountain of research on this topic. Global temperatures are rising, heat waves are becoming more common, sea surface temperatures are also rising, glaciers are melting, and of course no climate report is complete without the obligatory photo of a polar bear balancing on a piece of ice.
Even though the overwhelming scientific consensus is that immediate action is needed to lessen the already devastating effects of the West Antarctic ice sheet's now unstoppable collapse, which will result in a sea level rise of, 3 meters.
I think it's worth it though, because wind turbines are a blight on the landscape, and nowhere near as beautiful as open pit coal mines.
Among the measures designed to fuck over the environment are a massive cut to the Australian Renewable Energy Agency, a spreading out of the money set aside to fight carbon emissions, since climate change isn't real, and a giant kick in the balls to the CSIRO, Australia's leading scientific research body. Joe Hockey was quoted as saying, "Fuck renewable energy," as he masturbated over a picture of an open-faced coal mine signed by the manatee with a mop for hair, who literally earns as much every 2 minutes as the average Australian does in a year. The majority of changes in hockey's fuck budget come from recommendations handed down by the federal government's Commission of Audit report, which funnily enough went over budget. The head of the Commission of Audit received $157,000 for literally just 5 months' work, while others on the commission, including former Liberal ministers, received $80,000 or more.
Now, you've just delivered that budget. It's a budget with a new tax, with levies, with co-payments. Is it liberating for a politician to decide election promises don't matter?
Well, I don't accept that question. The biggest, most significant promise we made was to fix the budget and strengthen the Australian economy, and we will. And this budget does that.
Hockey wrapped up a successful first budget by heading to the offices of the Daily Telegraph, owned by Rupert Murdoch, notorious for their disgustingly relentless support of the Liberal government during the election, where he and the fellow rich white man Tony Abbott celebrated their strict belt-tightening measures in style by drinking expensive champagne. And before I leave you guys, don't forget, gay boat people want your jobs. Be afraid.